All right, welcome to NotebookLM. This is the best and my favorite of the Google toys right now with AI, I would argue. So here in NotebookLM, it's really just a place to come and bring all your sources or to discover sources and chat with data to get actual insights that are cited and sourced. So that way you don't have to worry, because the biggest problem with AI is that a lot of people are worried about, is this true? Is this from a reputable source? These kind of things. Well, with this, you bypass all that because you bring in your own. If you're a teacher, you can bring in your own curriculum. If you're a student, you can bring in your own assignments and information for what you're working on, your lesson materials. So this also for businesses and so much more. I have an example right here. I'll show an example of one, and then we'll make a new one together. Right here. So we have the Interceptor GTR 250. So what this thing is, this is a dune buggy. I got one for my kid for Christmas, and it wasn't working. We broke the axle on it, so I had to replace the axle. I've never replaced an axle before, so this was all new to me, and went ahead and gave it all these. This was before the Discover feature was out that we'll get into. But if you look over at these, all these were instruction manuals. I even had YouTube videos in a previous version of this. You can paste everything in here. So if I go to add, I can give it PDFs, text files, markdown files, audio like MP3. So if you record like a conversation, you can throw it in there and it'll transcribe it and have all that information. Google documents. So anything that's a Word document, you can turn into Google Doc. Anything that's a PowerPoint, you can turn into a slide or a PDF. And then you have links. So you could give it YouTube links and it'll know the entire transcripts of those videos. It even can get like sentiment analysis, know when it's sarcasm or if it was said in jest and which character said what, all that kind of stuff. Websites. You can give it any website. Just give it a link. As long as it's not behind a paywall or a login, see, then you would have to copy the information off there and paste it into here as long as you're allowed to. And you can just paste it directly in. Now you see I have 300 sources I can put in here. Now, if you're on the free, this is the $10 a month plan for their Google Advanced. But if you are on the free plan, you can access this just like me, and it gives you 50 per workbook instead of 300. 50 sources is a lot. I have still never used 50, so I don't see myself going to 100 or 300. So now now that we know that that's the sources, and you can discover more sources, you click on this. Here, look, if I click on feeling curious, but you can type in any topic and it's going to go find a bunch of sources on that, and you can go through. So this is something about celebrity death hoaxes. I guess that's what it was looking for, because I didn't give it instructions. I said I'm feeling curious. And so if I wanted all these, I could click import or just select the ones I want. And then those would be sources here. So I could ask it questions about this stuff. So what's a live axle? So based on the sources, live axle is a type of rear drivetrain system found in older models. And then if I click on it, it takes me where in my documentation it discusses that. So I can discuss the documents with it, or it can have it take me straight to those documents. So a great way to get around in them if you don't know what you're looking for. In the Navy, it definitely would have helped with our NATOPS training. All right, and so down here, yes, you can save it to notes if you like that one. Want to keep it, now right there, I'll always have what is a live axle answer right there for me. You see these other ones I've already created, but you have all these different things. So you can create a study guide, a briefing document, a timeline, frequently asked questions, and see it generates them. There's also these things that you can make called mind maps. If you click mind map here, see, now it's going to create another new one. You don't need it because we already have one, but they're really fast, so you can see how fast they can create. So give it a couple seconds, done. And just like that, a beautiful way to explore your data. And so the whole thing is about the operation and maintenance of this dune buggy. And then we have our safety precautions, all these. Oh, I'm doing maintenance, right? So now if I click on the word, you'll notice something happens. It takes me back here to the actual chat, and I can discuss that topic of maintenance. However, if I go back to my mind map, so you see right here, all kinds of information on maintenance with all the sources, but I can click back on my mind map and I can go deeper into it if I hit the arrows. So now, am I doing engine oil, maybe spark plugs? Okay, well, I need to check the condition in gap. So if I click that, it takes me to that part. So you can really hone in as much as you want, and it's a great way to get like what you're looking for. I like visual. It's a great way to do it. You can also download this thing, make it large again, and keep going. You can move around in it easy. You can zoom in, zoom out, all that good stuff, and of course download it. So very great, like all that, wonderful, but that's not all of it. Actually, there's something even way cooler about it. And so right here, if I click to create, and now since I already made a podcast, this is a podcast maker. Since I already made a podcast, it just had to go find it on its servers and it loaded fast. Normally it takes a couple minutes, so you start it and then wait. What it does is it takes your sources, and if you give it special instructions, like I want you to just concentrate on spark plug changes or whatever, it would be a whole podcast about spark plug changes given these sources. However, I just told it to make one, and I gave it some context. I said, my son and I are working on a axle on his go-kart on our land, and we're trying to get out there, and it stinks that it broke, and things like that. I gave it some context to make it a lot more personal. Now, I'll go ahead and start playing it right here. These can be downloaded, shared. You can just share them as a link or as an MP3 file. You can change the speed of playback if you're a fast talker like me, or you download it or delete it and give it new instructions. Be careful with it because you can actually give it all kinds of instructions. Tell it who your audience is. If the audience is, like late night podcasts and throwing out some bad words, it would do that. So just be careful with what you tell it and know your audience and make sure that you tell it your audience. And if not, it's just going to be very standard. So here we go.
All right, so Steve and Logan, you guys are ready to hear about getting that Carter Brothers GTR 250 back in action, back to tearing it up on your 18 acres.
Absolutely. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, because I know you guys were picturing some serious off-road fun and a snapped live axle. That's a bummer, but it doesn't have to be the end of the story.
Yeah, no, it's like think of it like you're playing your favorite video game and you get taken out early. You got to respawn, regroup, and come back stronger.
I may have told him that my son was a fan of video games. All right, and so now down here they have a new feature called interactive mode. Now interactive mode, once I gotta allow it, you have to allow the microphone because this is where you get to talk to it. So give it a second. And now if I hit play right here, it starts playing the podcast like normal, but then I could click this, you'll see.
All right, so Steve and Logan, you guys are ready to hear about getting that Carter Brothers GTR 250 back in action.
Oh, hey, our listener wants to join in. What's up?
Yeah, what's a live axle?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, it's pretty fundamental to how your go-kart works.
Okay, let's unpack this. A live axle is basically a single solid rod that connects both of your rear wheels together.
Exactly. So unlike a car with a differential where each wheel can turn at a different speed, with a live axle, both rear...
Yeah,
Yeah, I need to know what a live axle is, but I'd never dealt with this kind of stuff. Maybe at like the level of a 10-year-old.
Okay, we can definitely explain it in a way that makes sense for a 10-year-old.
Think of it like this. Imagine a toy car with a metal stick going straight through both back wheels.
Yeah, so that stick, that's kind of like a live axle. It makes both wheels turn at the same time, always.
Right. If one wheel goes over a bump, the other wheel feels it too because they're connected by that stick.
So what does this mean for your go-kart? Well, because both of your back wheels are...
All right, and so you get the idea. So it would just continue on, answer my question after it'd take a minute or two to do so, and then it'll automatically seamlessly go back into the podcast. That's why you no longer see a timer of like how long the podcast is, because the time can really be as long as it takes to get through it and you ask all your questions. If you let it actually finish and it finishes the whole 10, 20-minute podcast, whatever it is, and then you ask it a question, it'll come back on and talk. One time I had it come back and talk almost 20 minutes just because I spurred its, imagination or whatever. I don't know, but very interesting. So I wanted to show you that. You can go ahead and you can download these, you can share them. Now, as far as sharing them to where they're interactive, I don't believe that's the case. When you share them and they access the link, they can only just listen to it. They can't talk back and forth. But it's a great way to passively and actively engage in learning. So I love to listen to podcasts and then I'm learning that information, but sometimes I have a question. Well, I can't ask Alex Hermosi or Andrew Huberman a question. I mean, I could throw it into comments and hopefully it'll get there, or maybe find them on Minect or something, but you can't normally talk to these people. Here you can, and they have all the information that you feed it. So last thing before we go ahead and wrap this up, I do want to go ahead and show you. Over here, you can go ahead and click Discover. So we'll create a new one. This is what the process looks like. Create new, discover sources. So I'm interested in NotebookLM. Ooh, how meta is that? All right, and so right here, and I can click on these, go check them out and see, okay, so this has the information on it. Okay, great. So I'm getting all these different sources, and let's say I like them. Oh, this one's a YouTube video on it, so it's pulling an entire
Think about how often you encounter the following scenario. There's a task you're trying to complete.
Actually looks like a very well done video on NotebookLM. Putting me to shame. I shouldn't show competitors, huh? All right, so I click import, and you see how fast it goes through all these, and it summarizes each one. It knows about each one. It's very useful. So let's say I click on this first one. It's creating a little summary up here with the key topics, and I can click on them and then discuss it right here. Once again, click a mind map. When you're making your podcast, you can customize it here. So you see right here, focus on specific sources, topics, or for a target audience. I think the target audience is perfect because it makes it personalized. When my son heard it, he thought it was just going to be a random thing, and he was like, whoa, it's Stephen Logan, what? It's actually said my name, and it's more interesting that way. So you give it those instructions, you hit generate, and you're off to the races. Takes a couple minutes, but in the meantime, you can go down here and start playing with all the other fun things you can make. So that's it. Thank you for your time, and hope you enjoy using NotebookLM.